Hello everyone and welcome to
Dad and me love history. Dad and me love a whole lot of history. We could be the greatest team that the world has ever seen. Dad and me love a whole lot of history.
So today we're talking about, was the Great Wall built by an awesome leader or a crazy dude? The Great Wall of China was built around 200 years BC, before Christ, that's 2,200 years ago. Built by the first Chinese emperor, Emperor Qin Shi Huang, but we can call him Emperor Qin.
That's where we got the name China from.
Yeah, that's right, China, Qin, goes together. Anyway, he was born as Prince Chung in an area known as Qin State. There was no country called China when he was born. Then his father died and he became king of Qin State. So it's like one area or one province. He was just 13 years old. But King Jung wanted to be not just a king of one Chinese area, he wanted to take over all the other states nearby and become emperor of a new, bigger country, China. And what he did was take over, using his strong army of course, all the other areas and made it into one big country. He called himself emperor and changed his name to Shi Huang, which means first emperor. But Emperor Qin's new country of China was getting attacked a lot from Mongol tribes in the north. So he ordered thousands of people to begin building the Great Wall. That was 2,300 years ago. But he didn't finish it. Emperors who came later added to the wall, making it bigger and bigger, and emperors didn't stop building it until 1,700 years after they started. Today, China's Great Wall is 5,500 miles long.
It is the longest thing ever built by anyone anywhere on planet Earth.
Whoa!
We love history. We love history, baby. We love history. So, who actually built the wall?
Emperor Qin made different people work on building the wall, including criminals and enemy prisoners, and even scholars. That means teachers and writers. Yep, like me. Doesn't sound very fair, does it?
Well, it is fair for the children.
So this is a good bit of history for kids. So he forced people he didn't like to work on the wall, and he didn't like clever people because they might have different ideas about how to run the country. He wanted to be the absolute boss. He didn't want to listen to anybody else's ideas, so best get them not teaching, not learning, not writing, but building. And the people who worked on the wall, they weren't paid, they were slaves. They were only given a little bit of food, and their bodies got so tired they wore out. Many got diseases because their diet was so bad. There were accidents from falling rocks. Lots of workers died during the building of the wall, and their dead bodies were put inside the wall during its construction. Yeah, I know, crazy, huh? And they'll still be there now. Emperor Qin even had some of his enemies buried alive in the wall. That's why historians call the Great Wall of China the longest cemetery in the world.
What was the wall built out of?
The Great Wall was built mainly with rough blocks of rock and stones and packed with mud. That's the original wall anyway. Many years later, after Emperor Qin, the wall was rebuilt with proper bricks and made even higher.
Fun fact, the Chinese invented the wheelbarrow.
Yeah, they did. The Chinese invented the wheelbarrow, and I bet that helps them when they were building the Great Wall of China, so they could wheel all those rocks and stones around. Moats were dug outside the wall to make it more difficult for enemies to get to the wall. The moat would slow them down. You know, a moat, a big ditch filled with water. And that would give them time, the Chinese guards on the wall, to see the enemy coming and to call in more soldiers to prepare to defend the wall from attack. There are lookout towers all along the Great Wall, over 7,000 towers. When guards at one tower could see the enemy approaching, they would start a fire and make smoke signals. Then guards in the next tower along would see that smoke signal and start their own signals. And the next tower would see and they would start smoke signals, and soon everyone knew there was an attack coming so they could get ready. Fact time! People think the Great Wall can be seen from the moon. That's just a myth. That means it's not true.
We love history more than mysteries. What else did Emperor Qin do?
There were other ways in which this new country of China was not like a united country. So, for example, different parts of the country had different coins. You couldn't spend the same money if you travelled to different parts of China. So Emperor Qin made it better by making one system of money for the whole country. Emperor Qin made what we think of as the traditional Chinese coins, round with a square hole in the middle. But before Emperor Qin came along, the coins were all sorts of different shapes and sizes in different parts of China. Another problem was that China had lots of different languages and different ways of writing Chinese. So Emperor Qin made one standard way of writing Chinese. So you've got him to thank for your Putonghua lessons, James, and learning all those characters. Because he invented it, or at least people working for him did. I think that's Messi. Can you let her... Neymar, can you let her out? We'll have a little pause break here. I think she's meowing because she wants to get out of the room. Well done. That was James cat's catching. He makes it look easy. He's much better at it than me.
No scratches, and she didn't even try. But the last time she did try to bite me and scratch me.
No scratches and no bites today. Well done. Anyway, we were saying before those meows interrupted us how Emperor Qin made one Chinese language. There used to be lots of different ways of writing Chinese, and he came up with this one system that we know today. Emperor Qin also made transport better across China. He built lots of roads and canals, man-made rivers, so that people could travel throughout the country. So Emperor Qin was a skillful leader, but he was also cruel. He wanted everyone to obey only him and his government. So, for example, he hated religion, and he made religions against the law in China. He also ordered that nearly all the books in China be burned. He wanted history to begin with his rule and the Qin dynasty. That means what he started. Those scholars, teachers and writers who refused to bring their books to be burned, well, they would be killed. Fact time! Emperor Qin was obsessed with trying to live forever.
He had his best scientists working on finding a magic potion that would make him live forever. How would that work?
Well, that's a very good question. How would that work? For his whole life, he had scientists mixing different things together, trying to come up with something that would make him live forever. Do you know that's how they invented gin? But that's another story, because people were trying to do that in Europe, and they started choosing these berries and making this alcohol. I know it sounds a bit crazy, but they thought they were going to make their life longer. In reality, of course, if you drink too much of these things, you're going to make your life shorter.
We love history. We love history, baby. We love history.
We've not even talked about what Emperor Qin Shi Huang may be most famous for today, the place he's buried in. During his lifetime, he had over 700,000 workers building his tomb, so where he would be buried when he would eventually die if he didn't live forever. They built a huge terracotta army. Terracotta means like clay. It looks like stone, but it's a type of clay. And so he had all these soldiers built. They are life-size soldiers, so as big as me. And he thought that if he had a big army built, and we know there's more than 8,000 soldiers, and that they were built with their weapons, they were built in their uniform, even with horses and chariots. And he thought, Emperor Qin thought, this would all travel with him into the afterlife. So Emperor Qin thought he could still be a powerful emperor in heaven because he'd have all his soldiers, or he'd have thousands of soldiers with weapons. So all those soldiers were built in huge pits, hundreds, well, thousands of them, and then it was covered over with earth. His body would eventually, when he dies, be placed inside a tomb inside this hill. But they actually built the hill over the top of his tomb. So that used to be flat land. They put his body in, and then they built over the top. Of course, after they put all the soldiers around the outside of the tomb. There's so many thousands of soldiers, it's over a massive area. Chariots, horses, all of this remained buried under the earth for about 2,200 years, long after Emperor Qin was gone, and nobody knew it was there. It was when I was a baby in the 1970s, a Chinese farmer started digging a deep hole. He was trying to make a water well. As he was digging, he discovered a clay soldier, and so from there they found more and more and more soldiers, and they're still finding them today. Archaeologists, that's the people who are specialised in digging up objects. They're like historians, but they deal with objects more than with anything written down. Historians like things written down. So they're finding more and more soldiers buried there all the time. And these archaeologists and historians, they've still not got right into the centre of the tomb where the emperor's body is in that mountain. Inside of the mountain there are rivers of mercury. That's a poisonous metal, so it could kill you. And there's a fear of booby traps. If a historian or archaeologist enters into the darkness and steps on the wrong place, it could trigger crossbows to fire out deadly bolts at him or her. Because from what we know, that's what the emperor wanted to have in his tomb. So still today, 2,200 years later, nobody's been all the way into the centre. But we can tell a lot about what Emperor Qin's real army looked like by looking at the soldiers made out of terracotta clay. We can see their uniforms and weapons, and we can see that Emperor Qin had a strong army. So James, do you think Emperor Qin was an awesome leader or a crazy dude?
Crazy dude.
What makes you say that?
Because he asked if he could put some soldiers around him and some booby traps that will made him a crazy dude.
Yeah, making soldiers out of clay and thinking they're going to go with them to the afterlife. Thousands and thousands of them. And then the booby traps as well. I think he was worried with the booby traps. He was worried about people breaking in and stealing things. Find us on
Facebook
and Instagram
and Twitter. Please leave us a review on iTunes, but only if you like us, and tell your friends about us.
Yes, we'll only be able to continue making podcasts if we get listeners, so we need your reviews on iTunes and everywhere else, please.
See you next time on
Dad and Me Love History!
Dad and me love a whole lot of history. We could be the greatest team that the world has ever seen. Dad and me love a whole lot of history.
Okay, I think we better get the cat out, don't you?
Yeah.
You were right, I was wrong. Can't do this with a cat in the room. Even though Neymar is the quieter of our two cats.
I got you. No, the door.
Ah!
She's got my t-shirt.